Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Apostate Alauddin, joined by Secular Spirit, Halim.
Hello, everybody.
Um, Happy Halloween if you celebrate that kind of thing. We could go into the origins of Halloween, but I haven't done my research on that. It's some sort of pagan holiday. Well, I don't know if pagan is the right term, but it's some sort of holiday that has become what we are familiar with today, which is the trick or treating and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, not to take the topic too seriously from that angle, we actually wanted to explore stories with jinn as known, to Muslims and ex-Muslims. So what was your conception of jinn as a child, Alim?
I was taught about them mostly through school and school friends. I would say when it came to just Halloween and like horror stuff in general, when I was like a really young kid, it wasn't really part of my life. Halloween for me was just like the trick or treating and nothing else. I wasn't aware that it was considered a sin or sinful to participate in it potentially when I was living in Canada as a child. But then when I moved back to the Middle East, uh, living in Dubai, I think it had started to become more of a norm to celebrate it. But I've heard more recently that Halloween is becoming more of a normalized thing. But back when I was a kid, it wasn't really common. And Jinn, to answer your question, I was taught that they were these creatures that live almost like in a parallel dimension to us. Like they have their own world and everything that's kind of like a mirror of our world or some sort of thing like that. And they could shapeshift and they could possess people if you really angered them or if you had very low faith. I remember that if you sinned a lot, it made you more prone to being possessed potentially. Did you hear similar things yourself?
Yeah, I also learned about it through, I guess, word of mouth, and Islam, Islamic classes and so on, and in reading the Quran and through friends, through family. It was beyond just folklore and culture. It was also deeply integrated into religion. And Halloween was not really a thing where I grew up in Saudi Arabia, at least back then. Not really. I didn't feel a
Mm.
loss of not participating in it. To this day, I haven't really, dressed up and done the Halloween thing. I had like some very low effort costume one year, but that's about it. Um, and yeah, so what I was taught about Jinn, same thing. They live almost in a parallel dimension.
Right?
They
Yeah.
can interact with us. They're all around us. They're not necessarily evil. They're sort of like a humanity, but invisible in a
Yeah.
sense.
They're generally neutral, but there are some bad ones, and then there are some good ones. So it's the bad ones that just want to inflict harm, and good ones that actually want to help people. And yeah, I did notice that. So someone is commenting that it feels a bit weird to me seeing Secular Spirit on the left and Aladdin on the right. I think it's because I joined first. That's the only reason. It wasn't some master plan of ours.
Yeah. If you're gonna be superstitious about it, is this gonna mean that we're gonna have a
It's
bad stream?
cursed. It's
Yeah.
cursed. Oh no.
Um, yeah, but there's a lot of superstition. Obviously, the whole idea is superstitious. There are a lot of different cultures and religions and folklore all around the world about what some might interpret to be similar stories, though
Definitely.
not necessarily related in terms of origin or anything. It's more like trying to explain the mysterious and scary and that eerie vibe you get in secluded areas. And sometimes, spotting an animal walking away that you couldn't identify and then attributing it to be some kind of mythical creature or cryptid or something like that. There's so much of that everywhere in the world, but what we're going to focus on today is the Islamic side of it, or at least in Muslim
Yeah.
cultures.
Are we forgetting any other attributes? I think that they're invisible, but if they choose to, they can appear to us. Is that right?
Correct. And they could be Muslim jinn, they could be kuffar jinn.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, and what else? Yeah, there's so much about how they can interact with us. Like it could be at will, or some people supposedly who do black magic can interact with them and have them do tasks for them or hurt others or whatever. And that is not allowed in Islam. You're not supposed to, ask for the help of jinn or worship them in any way or ask them to intercede. It's a very, it's also very hard to define what they can and can't do. you ask, 10 people, you get 10 different answers. But I'll tell you this, I remember at my grandma's place, someone lived in the same building who was allegedly one of those sorcerers or, black magic, whatever you want to call it. And it's it was said to me as a matter of fact, by adults in my life that yeah, there's a person upstairs who does that. And one time we had someone knock on our door and ask us, is this where this lady lives? And I foolishly said, well, no, actually she's upstairs. And then I was kind of reprimanded for that. They said, well, you don't help people go seek out these not charlatans, mind you, like they weren't telling me don't send people to be scammed by these magicians. They actually thought that these magicians had powers and that I am helping them sin by approaching these people. Yeah, so it's very really unclear what they can and can't do. But there are stories in Islam, even in the Quran, of prophets using jinn for their advantage. So it's okay when they do it. It's just not okay if non-prophets do it. We can get into that in a bit. Also, we posted asking people for stories.
We
So
did, yeah. We'll share
yeah,
some of those.
we'll read some of those.
Yeah,
We'll share some of our own stories that we heard in our lives, and
yeah. I've got a few.
maybe yeah, we'll watch a video because this is a very popular genre of like Muslim videos that are about jinn possessions and whatnot, spooky sort of stuff. So maybe we'll watch one of those and give our thoughts on it. Going into this, how do you feel, Halim? Do you feel spooked? Do you feel excited?
Well, it's one of those things where it almost feels like I was a completely different person when I think of myself as someone who actually believed that Jinn are real. And the other thing I think about is like how it has harmful consequences because if you just think back in time, like in the past, like where maybe someone has some kind of mental health issue, uh, or like they're bipolar, whatever it happens to be, it would be just blamed. Oh, they're possessed by a jinn. Or if it's a girl who maybe the parents don't approve of her going out and maybe dating boys or whatever it is, she's possessed by a jinn. And so, like, in that sense, I feel like it's been a crutch to blame people in a way that makes sense to them, but also, find some reason for things that you don't understand. And that's the danger of superstition.
Yeah. And there are people who don't believe in a specific religion or maybe not Islam, but they also still believe in jinn. Is my camera frozen? That's not a jinn. That's a
Yes,
bug.
the curses have begun already.
Yeah. Um, and so there are people who have left Islam and still believe in jinn and the supernatural and so on. And hey, it's not up to me to tell you what to believe, but I think we're both of the opinion, Alim and I, that these things are not real. Um,
Yes, I would say so.
do you think it's arrogant to say that? Because usually I'm met with this accusation, like, how could you claim to know that there isn't anything beyond the visible world?
Well, how I would word it is there's a lot of things that are possible, but we can't just believe all of those things just because we can't disprove them. I would say it makes more sense to believe things once you have actual evidence to believe that they're real, or else you would believe in, the Norse gods, leprechauns, all sorts of things. As we were talking about earlier, all sorts of cultures have different beliefs about different creatures, whether supernatural or not, and you can't just believe in all those things, or you're going to be the most gullible person in the world.
Yeah, and it's difficult to know which ones to believe in and which ones not to, because if you open that door to, sure, the supernatural exists and there are things we cannot know. I agree with that as a concept that not that the supernatural exists, but that there are things we can't yet explain, and that was always the case in every generation of humans. Now less and less so than before. Now we can explain things that they used to pray to gods for, like the weather. Um, but am I making the assertion that there is no such thing beyond the unseen? No, but if I were to leave that door open, there's no reason why I should accept or entertain your beliefs about the unseen and not every other version out there. The outrageous, the predatory, the harmful, the harmless, So to us, they're all on the same degree of, being plausible or implausible, I think.
And I think, just to add to what you said, the reason why I believed in jinn, and I'm sure this applies to you as well, is because trusted people in my life, like for example, my teachers, my Islamic education teachers, told me they were real. So why would I trust them for everything and not trust them on this just because I couldn't see God, I couldn't see the Jinn? And so that I would say, if why did I believe in that and not in leprechauns? Because it came from those trusted figures in my life.
Right. But well, now do you how did that, I guess, affect your view of those trusted people once you outgrew that belief?
There was, and I think a lot of ex-Muslims can relate to this. There was that angry phase where I felt like, oh, these people were lying to me. These people were bullshitting me or whatever. But then I realized that's not the right way to look at it. The more accurate way to look at it is that, for the most part, those people are indoctrinated themselves and truly, genuinely believe it themselves. And so when they're telling you these things, they might be abusing their power in some instances, but they're also thinking sometimes that they're doing it out of your best interest in heart. Like they care about you. That's why they're warning you about being possessed by a jinn, if in case you're a troublemaker or you're causing too much mischief.
Hmm.
They think that telling you about the jinn and how you can get possessed by them will keep you in line, will keep you like a good Muslim.
I think it's the same sort of thing as believing in angels and believing in everything else that religion entails. It definitely didn't make me think of them as nefarious, like the people who believe this stuff, not necessarily, but more that it got me to question every other thing that they taught me, right? Because if they could be so off the mark about this one thing, what else were they wrong about?
Yes. Yeah, because we were talking about how the jinn are supposed to be invisible, while God is technically invisible as well, isn't he?
Yeah. And it also
Yeah.
extends to even things unrelated to the supernatural, like their beliefs on politics and so on. If they were so off the mark in one thing,
Yeah.
how do I trust their process to arrive at the correct information in other domains? Um, but anyway, it's also worth reminding people that jinn have predated Islam. So before the existence of Islam in that region, there was that concept of jinn. A lot of tales surrounding that, a lot of alleged sightings, right? None that are actually recorded or verifiable, of course, but a lot of stories were going around. And to some believers, that sort of, um, I guess, supports the belief that there are jinn because they say, well, that was a thing that was pre established even before the prophet was talking about it. So why would he make it up, in a sense? What would you say to that? Why would the prophet make it up? Or how could he make it up if it was
Mm.
already there?
Well, maybe he genuinely believed in it. You know what I mean? Like maybe he wasn't necessarily making it up. You know what's like, this is like a slight side tangent, but you'll see why I'm going there. I went on a trip to Iceland a few years ago. It's a pretty isolated place, tiny population. A lot of the country, especially when the settlers who went there first went there, it was just wild land. It was just wilderness, and there was a huge belief in fairies in Iceland. And I saw some statistic that showed that a lot of current Icelandic people still believe in fairies. And that sounded weird to me, but then you just walk around there and you can kind of see it. You're alone in this place, far, like you're setting up a colony far away from the rest of human civilization. The winters are long. Maybe it's just you and a couple other people in your little colony. You start hearing voices, you start seeing things, you feel like you're being watched all the time. Maybe there's animals around that are watching you, but you don't see the animals. It's not hard for me to believe that you would think that there's other things there that you don't understand, supernatural things. And so Iceland is one kind of environment, but I think it applies to Arabia as well. You're in the desert, maybe you're hallucinating because you're thirsty. uh, it, it's totally believable. That doesn't mean that those things are real, but I could see why someone like Muhammad would believe that it was true.
Mhm. So let's start with one of the stories that you have. We haven't discussed this before, so I'm really curious to know what was your exposure to jinn.
So I heard the stories, and once I heard the stories, I became afraid of being in specific scenarios. So I had a two floor house, and there was a a guest bedroom and bathroom that was away from where most of us were usually at, like most of the time. Like our living room and the bedrooms we actually slept in were upstairs. I was terrified of going into that guest bedroom, especially at night when it was dark, because I knew that if I needed help, everyone else was too far away from my screams to even reach them. And there was a bathroom in there too. And I'd learned that bathrooms were the places where Jinn particularly liked to dwell. I don't know why, but I would always think of like the pipe that's in the bathtub or something, or maybe the Jinn can get in that way. And that's the thing about this stuff. When you teach, I think when you teach kids about things like Jinn, it's very easy for them, similar to exposing them to a horror movie when they're really young. It's very easy for their imagination to, invent new things and create all this lore that might not even be related to Jinn. So I invented that, oh, they come through the pipes. And so I would be terrified of going to that part of the house. I'd be terrified of being alone. And I also had this belief that, sometimes when there's like mist or steam coming out of a pipe, like from a vent or something like that, I would sometimes think, oh, that's the Jinn coming out and manifesting into the form that I can see them coming from their alternate dimension.
So when
So
when you watched Batman, with all that steam coming out of the ground, in these like grungy cities, did you think that was all Jinn?
I didn't make that connection, although in retrospect, I watched those Batman movies, like the old ones from the 80s and 90s, way too young. Oh my, I was watching those movies when I was like 5 and 6, and there's one Batman movie where I think the Penguin bites someone's hand off or something like that. I can't believe my parents allowed me to watch that when I was that young.
That's why you're an ex-Muslim now. You watch too much Batman. Um, yeah. No, it's funny that you mentioned the pipes thing because that was explicitly told to a lot of us that they actually
Oh,
would
okay.
be like down the drain.
So maybe it was told to me and I just forgot. But yeah, okay, interesting.
Yeah, it's we've all heard stories through like in middle school and in primary school, maybe even sometimes in high school, of our friends who say that like them and their cousins were like exploring this empty building and then they saw something and like they could swear that it wasn't just
Yeah.
them, that there were multiple, witnesses. Every time I hear one of these stories, there's like multiple witnesses and stuff, but never on camera, right? Never. And
It
now
never is.
in the age of AI, it's impossible to get it
Yeah,
anymore.
even if it is on camera, you can't trust it
Yeah.
anymore.
But before then, there were good like 20 plus years where people had easy access to recording devices, relatively,
Yeah.
before AI and nothing, there's only, it's kind of like Bigfoot sightings and stuff.
Hmm.
But as a child, you were maybe a bit more gullible and like you can't be the only one who doesn't believe in them. And even if you disbelieve your friend telling you that story, you can't disbelief in the concept because it is in Islam. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and black magic is a thing in Islam. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد no, not that one. The one about من شر النفاثات في العقد ومن شر حاسد إذا حسد. So in one of these verses, you're praying to Allah or asking Allah to protect us from the evil of those who blow into knots, which is apparently a method of doing black magic. So it's not about just the stories in the hadith about, the jinn or Muhammad fighting a jinn who got away. These are stories in the hadith, but even in the Quran, you're acknowledging that it is real. God is acknowledging that it is real, which he wrote before creating anything.
Yeah.
So,
I
yeah,
would say that's where it is different than something like, I keep on mentioning leprechauns. Um, but okay, you hear about leprechauns and you think, oh well, that's just nonsense. But then, because it doesn't have that religious foundation of like a religion that is alive, that people are still practicing, because then it's much easier to believe in it and to keep believing in it, even if
yeah,
you don't actually see any good evidence of it. Do you mind if I read some comments related to bathrooms and,
sure.
and pipes?
Yeah.
So this one is from Adam. My mother thinks if she pours boiling water in the sink, she will kill a jinn. Okay, to your point, because they're hiding in the pipes.
Yeah.
Okay, and this one from Irini. My grandma used to tell me the bathrooms had jinn and the shaitan, so I always feared going to the bathroom and would imagine them all around me. Okay, so I wasn't the only one. Okay, and where was the other one?
Well, keep in mind that this gin stuff being near the bathroom predates piping, and at least as we know it today. Water.
Well, it's just enclosed spaces, I think, like that where you can't see
That's
anything.
part of it, but also like the filthy places. So
Ah, yeah, that's a good
specifically
point.
bathrooms, and bathrooms back then meant what? A big pile of shit. Like, excuse my language, but that was essentially it, a spot where people went to like do their business. It wasn't, for most of the world, it wasn't like plumbing and everything.
Yeah.
And I think in some parts of the Greek world there was plumbing, but not really in the Arabian Peninsula. So it's, you can make hypotheses or theories, come up with theories about why. It could be that, these areas are more disease laden. Like if you fell in the pool of gross mud, you're more likely to have a disease and die of it before, medicine was a thing. So maybe they think a jinn possessed them and, they're eating their soul or whatever. So
Yeah.
there are ways to rationalize how they came up with it, but it's unacceptable that God didn't understand germ theory and let people go crazy with, these
Mhm.
hypotheses.
This comment from El Pink Cananas. Despite liking to sing, I never sang in the bathroom or shower because I was told Jinn and Shayateen liked it, or play a podcast. Yeah, you can't do that apparently. And then I like this one from Len. Doesn't logically follow that these jinns live in toilets and then pipes and suddenly come out in large numbers in sunset. Some grade A bullcrap.
Yeah. There's a whole subgenre of scary jinn stories specifically targeted towards women and girls to scare them from either not wearing the hijab or, singing or having or being outside when it's dark or just even being outside. There are even hadiths about how when a woman goes outside, the devil uses her to lure men or like to tempt men or something. That's very, um, how do you call this? Like victim blaming rape
Yeah,
culture.
yeah,
Um, but also, people have taken the concept and ran with it. Some of them are not explicitly mentioned in the hadith, but so many people have heard some version of that. I have a friend from Bangladesh who told me that up until a certain age, she would not shower naked by herself because she was afraid. And that wasn't just like some fear that she had overblown. Her family taught her to be afraid that jinn might harass her or be sexually attracted to her if they saw her naked. That's insane, right? That's not healthy. And there's, as many comments will show you here, and we're going to read some in a bit, stories about how women are told to dress a certain way or not go outside at all because a jinn might fall in love with you and tempt you, or whatever version of that might be. But a good question was asked here: why are jinn not attracted to men? Why aren't we worried about, jinn on men sexual crimes? That is a mystery.
yeah, yeah. I think we could do some social analysis of that. But like to your point about the other thing I would mention that was my experience with fearing Jinn, and I never had I never had an experience where I actually felt that, oh, there's a Jinn right there. It was always me like fearing it, wondering if they're lurking in the darkness. The other thing that terrified me was learning again, like we were saying earlier, about how there were some that were good, some that were neutral, and some that just were bad eggs, like they just wanted to cause harm. And that's what scared me, because I always saw myself as, oh, I'm a good person, I'm a good Muslim, I don't do anything that's too horrible. I'm an innocent kid, and it terrified me that even though I was just an innocent kid, that a jinn could, just for the hell of it, target me, just to torture me. And so I always felt unsafe, especially when I was alone. I'd be walking alone and again see some see some steam coming out of a vent, or it's just dark and I'm just like walking down the street and there's nobody else around, and I would start feeling my heart pound, all because like just this belief in my mind that didn't exist anywhere else.
Yeah. I want to read this comment by Hassan Radwan because it's very similar to a whole other genre of jinn stories. So wait, why am I struggling to read it? Can you read it for me? Because I can't see the screen very
Sure,
well.
sure. So Hassan says, I remember being told to fold my prayer mat after praying, otherwise a jinn would prey on it. Oh, why is that a bad thing? I couldn't understand why that would be a problem. Yeah, I agree with you, Hassan,
Exactly.
because as we were talking about, they could be Muslims as well.
Yeah, I
But
was also
yeah,
told that, there's the hadiths about like if you're asleep, the shaitan would like pee in your ear or something so that you don't hear the adhan, so you don't get up. Some other version was about how if you yawn and you don't cover your mouth, same thing. I don't know what it was with pee and devils and stuff. Like if in 2025 maybe he could have turned it into a kink, but back then it was a way of life that he forced everyone on. What else? There was something about how if you don't say Bismillah, the devil or jinn will eat with you, with your food, and it's not going to be as filling or as nutritious or something. Obviously, that if that was the case, then people who are underweight, or was it overweight? Overweight can just,
Overweight.
yeah,
Yeah,
never say Bismillah. Then you'll have less calories, fewer calories in your food.
there you
But
go.
yeah, that's not how it works. But I also thought the same thing. It's funny, Hassan mentions this. It was empathy for the jinn or the shaitan. Like, so what if he eats with me? So what if the jinn join me? Like, is it actually affecting me in any way? No, it's not. But yeah, we were taught the weirdest things. And I didn't think to question it till it got real in my life, till not like Jinn got real, but the effects of it, the way that people reacted got really impactful and real, aside from just, bedtime stories and stuff like that.
Yeah. El Pink Bananas. Wait, I just want to read that one first. If you drop something on the floor, the shaitan would lick it.
It's like the 5-second rule, but with shaitan licking stuff. Um,
Kiwi
yeah.
Flops here has a story. I remember being told if a jinn fell in love with me, it would target all men, whoever would love me, and so leaving the house or singing during night was off limits.
Yeah. I can sense some Muslims who might hear this or watch this and think, why are you making my religion look so silly? I have nothing to do with these beliefs. I didn't believe that. My parents didn't believe
Yeah.
that. This is a misrepresentation of Islam. This is low hanging fruit. It is not. It is a very popular belief that if you were to say this is all silly and Muslims, most Muslims are undereducated about this and superstitious and they shouldn't be, like, what about the mentions of it in the Quran itself? Is it just that they exist, just not in this specific way? I find that to be difficult to bargain with. You either believe in this stuff or you don't. So if you find it ludicrous, ask yourself, is my belief system itself ludicrous, not just these specific stories?
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's some Muslims that might take the approach of, well, these are just stories. They're not meant to be taken literally because that's always the easiest thing to do. And, maybe like useful stories, like Hassan mentions what I was mentioning earlier, that I suspect parents took liberties with Jinn stories to get kids to behave. So
That could be
that
part of it. Yeah.
it's hard to say because like if you were to do like a survey of the Muslim world, how many of you believe that Jinn are real? I feel like a good percentage would say yes, like maybe not 100%, but
Yeah.
enough to see that it's like a part of mainstream Islamic belief.
And when push comes to shove, it is way beyond just a scare tactic, levied to scare kids into obedience. Because when it actually manifests, sometimes like Muslims have to ask themselves tough questions. I've shared parts of the story before, but I've had a younger family member when I was a teenager who was having some sort of, I don't know necessarily if it's neurological or mental health issue. And it was, they sought out, the people in their life sought out some medical treatment for it. It wasn't clear if it's working or not. It wasn't immediately working. So they also simultaneously sought out, ruqya and that kind of stuff, which is a sheikh or even, a family
Basically an
member,
exorcist, right?
an Islamic exorcism, yeah, or just a blessing, like reading Quran or some du'as or something, some appealing to God for help, essentially to get the devil out of this person or the influence of the devil. And they'd put a hand on the person, on their head maybe, and they'd start reciting these words, and the person would react negatively, right? Because they don't want to be held in place. They don't want to be shouted at in their face. But as they struggle, as they push back, maybe even as they play into it, because they might believe this stuff themselves, that's more confirmation that this stuff is real. I was told not to drain hot water in the sink because that's where Jinn might be and it might scare them. It might be why they're possessing my family member. which is absurd. Like,
So they're getting pissed off because you're taking too long of a hot shower.
that's the thing. They didn't say don't take hot showers. Weirdly enough, it's just don't throw boiling water in the sink. Like you're making tea and you have too much boiling water, that pisses them off. But if you're having a hot shower, they're enjoying it somehow. Um, and these are very educated people that I'm speaking of. These aren't, people who lived without access to education and are very superstitious in every way in their life. So they weren't leveraging this in a way to scare kids into obedience. They genuinely were scared themselves because they've never sincerely questioned, do I really believe in this stuff? Or is it just that it's there, so I have to believe in it? So when push comes to shove, they actually have to believe in it. And it was very disturbing for me to witness that, for the person to go through it, for them too, to be, participating in it. And I only wonder if they ever look back and feel bad that
Mhm.
they believed in it. Do they still believe in it? Do they justify it to themselves? It's very difficult to be a part of that system. So yeah, it's beyond just, things that parents say to scare their kids into obedience.
Yeah, society wide. Is your camera possessed again? People are asking.
Yeah, it keeps doing that.
Well, I'll take this moment just to mention the special thank you to Haram Doodles, friend of both our channels, who actually suggested the idea for the Halloween special. Hi, Haram Doodles. And she actually shared a few stories of herself and her experiences with the the Jinn. You think now is a good time to read them?
Sure, yeah. Yeah, I
All
thought she was going to
right.
join us, but I misunderstood. She's just sharing the stories,
Oh,
which we're going to
no,
read. Yeah.
no worries. Okay. So here are the stories from Haram Doodles. I'll try to convey them as best I can. So she says, I grew up being shit scared of jinns and shaitan and heard really scary stories of jinns and even witches from India and Pakistan. So, for example, there's a story of a young girl who became possessed by a jinn because she stood under a tree with her hair open at Maghrib time. She was later found swinging on that tree on a swing made of thread. I assume swinging by her neck. So this was also a lesson for us girls not to open our hair at night unless we wanted to be possessed too. All
There was a
right.
commenter saying they're not safe from just the men, but also the jinn. They have to be
Yeah.
scared of air, of
Yeah.
freaking
Of
air.
invisible entities that are constantly possibly around you.
And I'm assuming it's mostly male, like, so they can't escape the male humans, and they also can't escape the male jinns. Is this a flaw in God's design, that He made a horny, predatory, unable to control themselves, male gender all in general? Like, don't tell me that God's creation is perfect when this is a systemic
Yeah,
issue.
why does it transcend the races? Yeah.
It seems to transcend even creation because God Himself has male issues. So is it a problem of the archetype? Is God just playing into this archetype because He has no choice?
Mhm.
Is He part of the plot too with us? I don't know.
Space Elias says, so the Islamic version of the German bedtime stories. So like Hansel and Gretel and stuff like that, I guess. Brothers Grimm.
That's the
Um,
crazy thing. I
yeah,
would read those stories and think, okay, well, clearly this is not true. But when Muhammad does it, it's true. Like,
of
how?
course.
Yeah.
Yeah. Haram Doodles has a couple other stories.
Hmm.
So, okay. Oh, this is just a side tangent. You could tell if a woman was a witch by looking at her feet. If they were backwards, you were basically fucked. And another tale she heard was of a Muslim family who kept finding poop around their house and in their belongings. A local mullah was consulted, and turns out it was a family of jinn leaving feces because the jinn family's son was bullied by this Muslim family's kid. They had to apologize to the jinn for the poop to stop, like the family basically said sorry out loud to no one.
Can you imagine being like one of those, I don't know, either black magic doers or sheikhs who fight that? You'd be making bank just off of the gullibility of people. Like you can go poop in their clothes and then sell them the antidote.
Like that could be the scheme. So you'd have like maybe like a partner. So while you're talking to the family outside the house, the partner sneaks in and
Yeah.
leaves the evidence.
Yeah. Um, Here's a comment I want to read. A major problem is that jinn possession can and is used by abusers. My childhood friend was abused by her stepdad, and I think the only justice that occurred was an exorcism. Oh, the jinn made me do it.
Hmm.
Yeah. I mean, they say that about Muhammad, right? Like, not the jinn, but Allah told me to do it.
Yeah.
Same concept. Um, do you have any more stories from halal? Sorry, haram doodles, halal doodles.
Halal,
It is
halal,
Halloween.
her alter ego. Yeah.
It would be scary if she turned into halal doodles.
I think no, just like a few comments. I'll read them quickly. So I think a lot of people can relate to this too. That it was so scary and exhausting to always worry that a jinn, like the shaitan, could be around you at any time, even in the bathroom. Again with the bathroom stuff. Oh, I didn't even see that before. I still think back to those sleepless, terrifying nights as a Muslim kid, laying still and frightened with a blanket over my head, wondering if shaitan or a jinn is creepily watching me from the darkest corner of my room.
And even if it is your stepdad, it's somehow the jinn's fault.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, we try to joke, we try to make light of it, but it is a very serious
Yeah.
problem. And we can make jokes now because, we don't believe in it and it can help us feel better. But there are people who are still either struggling with belief or even past that point and they don't believe in the religion, but still struggle with the fear or with these specific beliefs. So this is not, no part of this is making fun of you. It's to try to lighten the mood a little bit
Yeah.
so that to give you tools to dismiss that fear or ridicule it or minimize it.
I think it's super important because like just like as a coping mechanism to kind of get over it and just break the dark hold it had on a lot of us for a long time. Like that fear, when you truly believe it, it's real. Like you genuinely believe that there's these monsters lurking in your bedroom corner.
Yeah. There's a story from the Quran. I don't know if I should pull up the verses. Do you think I should pull up the verses to
Sure.
read it verbatim? Okay. Let's put it on screen. It's from Surah An-Naml, the chapter of the ants. I think there's a story in it about Sulaiman, Solomon, and the ants and not stepping on them and stuff like that. But this part is about the people of Saba, right? And let's see. Yeah. So Sulaiman and Dawood, they have. So Sulaiman was the heir of David, Dawood, and he has been taught the language of the birds and given abundance of things, including control of jinn. So there was a part of the story where, let's see, yeah, there was a tayr, the hudhud, a bird that wasn't present during the morning assembly or whatever assembly. Sulaiman said, "Everybody come here, all the animals." I don't know if he meant one of each animal or what, but again, this reads
A
like a
representative for each species,
yeah,
perhaps.
something like that. And the hudhud, the woodpecker, didn't show up, right? And Sulaiman said, yeah, he said, "Mali la ara al-hudhud, am kana min al-ghaibin." Why don't I see him? Is he absent? I will punish him with hard punishment, or I will slay him, or he shall bring me a plain excuse. So we're analyzing the story as if it's real. This guy talks to animals. Dr. Doolittle Sulaiman talks to animals, and he says if this guy doesn't show up because God gave him, God entitled him to control these animals, I will torture him. I don't know why. Like suddenly animals have sentience. You're telling me that in his tiny little brain, he has the ability to speak, he has the ability to reason, to remember deadlines. Like he should remember that Sulaiman said show up by 7
Has to
a.m.
keep important appointments.
Yeah. Like the absolute insanity. Like from what we know about the nervous systems of these animals, it's not capable of having these complex thoughts, as far as we understand at least. But Sulaiman wasn't just thinking, oh, maybe he was killed by another animal. Maybe he just, went to catch a bird, or sorry, a worm somewhere. No, I will torture him because he didn't show up on time. Or maybe he has a good excuse for not showing up on time. But I don't understand what the torture would do except to satisfy this fetish for punishment and violence. It seems silly, right? Like, why am I over
Yeah.
analyzing this part? But this teaches a kid that, a superior punishing you and torturing you is okay as long as God, said it's okay. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I don't see any reason why Sulaiman would torture a bird who was late, even if God gave him permission. It doesn't make any sense.
Can you listen to yourself, by the way, right now, talking about this? And then like, the fact that there's hundreds of millions of people that believe that every word of this is like perfection,
Yeah.
the perfect divine word of God.
Where's the perfection? I will torture a bird if he doesn't show up on time. Are you telling me this is perfection?
But see, this is what I mean. Like, I can see why some Muslims will take that route of saying, "Oh, well, that's obviously meant to be like a metaphorical story to teach us something. There wasn't literally a woodpecker that was late for a meeting and stuff like that."
If I said I want to slap every Muslim who abuses their children with these stories in the face, can I then say, well, then it's just metaphorical? I mean, I'm so frustrated by it. I want to torture them, but it's just metaphorical. I'm not saying I would. I'm just demonstrating how stupid that sounds.
Yeah,
You don't say you'll torture something metaphorically. Like, what's wrong with you, dude? Seek therapy. Anyway, so the Hudud shows up and he says, "I know what you don't know." Um, and
very cryptic from the Hudhud.
yeah, this whole like the way it's all told is very cryptic and story like. Um, and I came from Seba with sure tidings, with I don't know, news. I found a woman who is ruling over them, and she has everything. She was given everything. She has a huge throne, a mighty throne. I'm not translating word for word, just getting the idea across. I found her and her people prostrating to the sun without Allah. So that is shirk. That is what's the word? Is that polytheism? Whatever. It's idolatry.
Idolatry.
Yeah. And the shaitan has made their work. I don't know. Has kind of fooled them into thinking that this is good in a sense, and he has pushed them off of the straight path, and they will not go aright. They are off the straight path. Why don't they? Why are they prostrating to anything but Allah, who does so and so and so, and praising Allah, glazing the guy. Um, so Solomon says, "I will verify, because what if you're making this stuff up just not to be
True,
tortured by me?"
true. It could be fake news
Um,
from the Hudhud.
yeah, and he sent him with a letter, and the letter says, "Oh people, like I have a great noble book." Wait, what was that? Um, no, she said the ruler said, "Oh people, I have been given a noble letter." How the heck do you know that a letter is noble? Like they're glazing Sulaiman in the story without even knowing him. Um, Such a fake story when you actually like read it as an adult. It's from Solomon, and he says, "Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim," in the name of Allah, blah blah blah. Um, Do not exalt not yourselves against me, but come unto me as those who surrender. So, what's so noble about this? Like, oh, people, surrender to me. Anyway, I'll get to the point of the story here. It has to do with Jinn, I promise.
It's
Um,
coming. It's coming.
it's coming. You can't see it yet, but it doesn't mean it's not there. So she said, "Oh, people, help me in my case. Give me your opinions. Um, I will not decide till I get your opinion, or till you are witness." They said, "We are people of might and lords of great prowess, but you are in command, so you decide." So she said, if when kings enter a place, a township, they ruin it and they make the honor of its people shame, they might do this to us, is what she's thinking. Historically, that tends to happen, yes.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. And she said, "And I'll send them a gift, and we'll see what their messenger says." And Sulaiman, hmm. So when Sulaiman received the gift, he said, "Why are you giving me money? Allah gave me better. Um, why are you so happy about your gift?" or something. Um, anyway, he told the messenger to go back to, well, that's a bird. He told the bird to go back to them. Um, and they had with them soldiers or something. "And we will bring them out with shame, and they will be abashed." Essentially, we will humiliate them if they don't surrender. And that, you tell me, is the noble letter, right? Somehow, like the leader thought that was a noble letter or a noble exchange. So then the lady said, No, sorry. Sulaiman said, "O people, including Jinn, who can bring me her throne before she gets here with her people?" Okay?
Yeah,
And
I'm with you so far. Yeah,
yeah, one Ifrit, which I guess is a kind of like
it's a kind of
mythical
Jinn.
creature, yeah, kind of jinn, Ifritu min al jinn, of the jinn, said, uh, "I will bring you it before you are done with this, this session, this lecture, whatever. And I am, strong and trustworthy." And then a man who has knowledge from of the scripture said, somehow this man has knowledge from the scripture which enables him to have superpowers somehow. He says, "I will bring it to you before you blink," essentially. So then Suleiman saw the throne over there, and he said, "That is from my Lord's favor, um, to test whether I will be thankful or whether I will become a kafir. Um, and whoever is thankful, so that's for their own benefit. Whoever is a kafir, so God is independent and bountiful and he doesn't need them," or something of that nature. Um, and Sulaiman said, "So disguise her throne so that we see whether she will go aright or be of those who are not rightly guided." I can continue with the story, but essentially the point is this jinn was going to bring it in 30 minutes or something. And this guy who knows scripture was going to bring it, or did bring it, in half a second. And
Ooh,
somehow when she shows up, right, the leader, Malikat Saba, the leader of Saba, she is supposed to be so impressed by the fact that the throne, her throne, came here, that the only conclusion should be that this is a messenger from God and I have to believe in his specific message. Otherwise, she is a kafira, she is, she's bad, she's denying all that stuff. But the question becomes, if jinn exist and a jinn could take half an hour, half a day, 3 days, right? Because it's a journey. Maybe she takes her time coming there, but a jinn also brings her throne. Why is that impressive to her? Like, if that's the thing that happens, how does that prove that Sulaiman is the messenger from God if she also has some guy who reads some scripture and also controls jinn? Or I explain that to me. I never understood that, with the whole like supernatural shit exists, but ours is special and therefore you need to believe in us. So what would, isn't it plausible that a kafir jinn brought that throne? I don't know.
Hassan says it's like a Hollywood script. It's like an Islamic Lord of the Rings almost.
A very terrible one at that, so full of plot holes.
And Hassan also says he believes that it was a jinn who had knowledge of scripture, not a man who brought the throne.
Thank you for the correction. Yeah. So somehow knowledge of the scripture makes you a more powerful jinn,
Exactly.
but knowledge
Exactly.
of the scripture as a Muslim doesn't do shit for you. Um, so here's a super chat. Thank you for the super chat. I'm trying to highlight it, but it's not coming up. Are you able to see it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here it is.
Thank you, Senida. They say torture is a theme, Aladdin. Yeah. This god seems to love torture for some reason and make it so normal that one of his, followers, one of his prophets, can torture a bird because he was late. Unless he had a good reason.
I love how that's like the central part of the story. Like that's what instigated the action. That's actually weirder than any Hollywood movie I've ever seen.
Yeah. So tell me, which part of the story was perfect? Like, which part of this proves that Islam is the religion of God? Yeah.
It's a memorable one. I mean, not for good reasons, maybe, but for how weird it is. But maybe it's one of those things where you throw in some supernatural things, some animals that can talk. It sticks more. Again, similar to Lord of the Rings.
I mean, that's what some people might think. I think it just makes things more confusing. Because even if I were to believe in the supernatural, like, I'm trying to explain that to people, epistemologically, this is flawed. Like, even if we are to believe in jinn and the supernatural, he didn't prove anything by having a jinn bring her throne, because that is something that could happen. And she had no idea that it happened in half a second, right? But even if it did happen in half a second, that is something that is plausible in that world, that you don't have to be a prophet to do. It's plausible in today's world, allegedly, right? Because jinn exist and there are people who talk to them. So how does this book think that it made a good point when, even if you believe in the far-fetched stuff it espouses, it still doesn't? Do you get what I'm saying?
I get it. Yeah, it's one of those things where when you're a Muslim, well, of course, it totally makes sense. It all falls into place, and then it's only when you kind of take those glasses of belief off that it's like, oh, this is just like, I would almost say it's like a weird, dumb kid's story that doesn't sound any different than anything that would be in Brothers Grimm. Actually, I would say that like, the stories of Brothers Grimm make more sense than that one.
There's usually more of a lesson, more of a moral.
Yeah, yeah.
Some of them are pretty grim,
Yeah, yeah.
and we just
Hence the name.
know that.
What
Yeah,
is like, okay, so if I was to just kind of summarize, like, what is the moral of the story? If you had to
uh,
summarize it in a sentence.
um,
It's not
several
easy to answer
things.
it. Yeah,
Like,
yeah, it's like a bunch of things, right?
and none of them are actually good things to believe in, right? But essentially, that this guy swung his phallus around his jinnic phallus enough to convince people that he's the strongest, biggest king ever, and that is somehow proof of God. Because who else could have given him that? You know, it's all circular. Because no one can be that powerful without God's
Mhm.
blessings. Therefore, you know, a very powerful very powerful king must be God's messenger. It really doesn't make any sense. So I want to make it clear for people who are watching this. I don't want you to think or reduce all of this to, haha, these people believe in jinn. That's so stupid. Therefore, Islam is false. No, even if you believe in jinn, you find that these stories are so full of holes. They don't prove what they claim they prove. And it's laughable to think that this is the best God could come up with.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, again, like, I don't blame any Muslims for believing in jinn. Like, I believed it when I was Muslim. And when you're told it's true by everyone around you, and when you see it in the Quran, of course you're going to believe it.
Yeah. I'll read a couple of super chats. Dance Macabre asks, what do you say for people who can see jinn? What are your thoughts on that?
What do I say for people who can see jinn? As in, like, they're claiming that, like, are we talking about like the what did Haram Doodles call them? The jinfluencers, the ones that are posting videos saying, I had these sightings, I can exercise them for you, or just people in everyday life? Because I guess different answers for different things, right?
Yeah, if it's someone who's using that to influence other people to some extent or to scare other people or have the antidote or claim to have the antidote, then I would say different things than, you know, a person who thinks they're gifted or cursed or whatever it might be. But I don't think that they're actually seeing jinn. If there is some kind of repeatable experiment where you can have this one person sit in a
Yeah.
room and we somehow measure it, have them, you know, knock something over and so on, and do it repeatedly. There have been, there was a show in the US, a guy who put up a lot of money to debunk all of these sort of supernatural, super
Oh yeah,
powers.
he's like a bald guy, right? Like a bald magician,
I don't
older
remember
guy.
his name. Like he wanted to prove to people that none of this stuff is real, so he put a huge amount of money and said, if you can prove it on TV, this money is yours. And they were always exposed as charlatans. I think if we are able to repeatedly test and prove that this person is seeing something that isn't just in their head, but actually does exist to some extent in the real world, I would be very compelled to believe that there's stuff, you know, beyond what we can see. But so far, that has never really been proven. And if I were to entertain a person's stories because they are trustworthy generally, or they have no reason to lie, that opens up the door to entertaining so many claims because there's no obvious reason they'd be deceiving.
Exactly. Yeah. The magician was James Randi, right? Like the one who put up the challenge. I think
I
that's
think
who it
so.
was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, I think that's the key thing, like, where you can kind of repeat it, like, do a controlled experiment. And this extends beyond Jinn. I know people in my personal life who believe that there's ghosts, who believe that there's, all sorts of things. And their stories are always kind of like the stories you hear about Jinn. Well, the coffee table knocked over and there wasn't an earthquake and there was no one nearby.
Yeah.
Or I remember hearing the story once. It was from a friend of my mother's, I think, a family friend, and she would say that she would see faces all around her when she was about to go to sleep, like see all these faces of like spirits or something like that. And how do you disprove when someone just has that story and really believes that it happened? It's difficult, but if you find some way, you have to find some way of like explaining to them, well, can you show it to me in a way that I can see it too or experience it too? And when you can't, I think that's revealing in of itself.
And you're not disproving that they are seeing these things, because they can actually truly think they're seeing these things, or actually
Yeah.
are seeing these things. Um, if you were to study, just how the human brain works, there's still so many mysteries in it. But what we know for a fact is that what you see, through your eyes, that first is light that then gets transformed into chemical reactions that become electrical impulses that only then are interpreted by the brain. Like initially, the image is upside down, even. The fact that it's upright for us is because of how the brain does the calculations. Um, or like, translating that into something that you can understand. If anywhere in that link there's a problem, or in that process of interpretation, drugs can even replicate that. There are specific drugs that make you take the input and hallucinate things into it and then interpret it differently. So all of that is possible. It's possible that you can start seeing faces before you fall asleep for whatever explainable medical reason, even if you don't have an explanation for it right now. But to think that these things actually exist, it's just that other people don't see them, that's the difficult part to prove in any way.
Yeah.
Um,
And I think the thing that we can also take from this is that if you are someone who has like mental health issues or of some kind, if you are taught to believe that there's something like the Jinn, it might actually make you more like likely to believe that Jinn are messing with your life. They're haunting you, they're possessing you, they're interfering in things because everyone around you is telling you that it's true.
yeah. I remember being taught, or hearing this. I don't remember if it was taught to me in my household, but that there's a layer on the cornea so thin that humans can't discover it, and that prevents us from seeing jinn, like an anti-jinn filter somehow. It's crazy. Like you can even see like a diagram of an eye, and then someone points to like a thin part of the cornea, and they say, "Well, that's the Jinn filter," and some people will believe that, unfortunately. But Islam doesn't have a position on cornea filters because it doesn't really speak of cornea at all. But people are creative. Can you read the super chat? Because I
Sure.
can't right now.
So thank you so much, Heavenly Shiori, who says, "Would the jinns know that? Would the jinns that know biblical scripture count too, or is it just because the Quran is the right one?"
Um, would jinn that know biblical scripture count to? That's a good question. Yeah. Like, would they have more power because they know the Bible? I don't know. Ask a sheikh.
Corrupted knowledge,
Yeah, I
and
guess they don't have the original
yeah,
Bible.
I think Kat has like a similar experience to what you were saying about the like visions in your like seeing things near the side of your eye. So Kat says, "If I thought every weird spot I see at the edge of my vision when I'm on my third day of almost no sleep, I'd be too afraid to inhale air."
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's often an explanation that even if you can't arrive
yeah,
at, just know that it's not really safe or wise to just think, therefore, I have to believe in this specific version of supernatural lore. Um, and also, don't let yourself be too open to it to the point that you can be, tricked into believing something that's not real.
yeah. I think you got another super chat from Kobarto. Have we read this one already?
I don't think
Shout
so.
outs to my Jin friend Jimbo, who's living in the pipe of my toilet. Enjoy the stream, big guy.
What
Thank
stream
you.
are we talking about?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Wordplay. Thank you so much, Kobarto. Uh, th-
Jinbo.
yeah,
Yeah.
there was a question to make a poll. Can you make a poll for ex-Muslims to see how many grew up with this belief? I
I already
did.
did.
Oh, you did.
Well,
Excellent work.
it's well,
Oh, you did
it's the
it
post.
already.
Yeah.
Ah,
Let's take a look at it.
yeah. Sure,
So
let's do it.
I left the third option for those, I guess, who didn't grow up Muslim, possibly, and just want to see the results. But of the 60% who are familiar, most of them have heard stories about jinn in their younger years. Wait, was that what the poll was about, or about whether or not we believe it? Or is that what the commenter was asking about? I don't know, but here's a poll.
Similar,
Yeah,
similar.
have you heard of these stories? Like, most of them said yes. I don't know what that percentage is out of 100, but most said yes. We can read some of these stories now. Like
Oh
I
yeah,
can,
we should actually. Yeah,
yeah. So jinn live in the kitchen drains. Uh, that we've already talked about that one. Let me zoom in a
that's a
little bit.
theme. That's a theme.
Yeah. Uh, Howrin Haruin
Harurin.
Harurin says My relatives believes that a jinn lived in the upstairs of my grandma's house. It's basically a prayer room, and we had to keep it super clean and tidy. Mashallah, staying in the prayer room, that's like i'tikaf. Um, all the women were not allowed to go up if they were on their period as well. Right, because it's filthy and impure.
Yeah,
Um,
goes without saying.
yeah. It scared me so much as a child, and I avoided having to go up there as much as I could. A lot of locals also believe that jinns lived in the local mosque, Muslim jinn. You have to be very careful what you say and do there, and of course, always have to cover yourself. This is a great idea to tell people like jinn live in a library and they hate loud noises. So shh, don't piss off the jinn. Anyway, but cover, yeah, you have to cover yourself again, controlling mostly women. It's where I went to Islamic school as a child, and there was a lot of rumors about a teacher who lived at the school keeping jinns there, feeding them meat and whatnot. That was scary too.
Feeding them meat as if like they're like stray dogs or something like that.
I mean, they could just eat with all the people who don't say Bismillah. You don't
Exactly.
need to feed them. Yeah, superstitions, black magic, and so on. Bathroom, recurring theme. Um, This commenter, the first talker, says, I am currently writing a master's thesis about jinn possessions and exorcisms in Islam. I would be really curious to read that.
Hmm.
The point is to introduce the topic first, then conduct a study on local Muslims living in the city, if they believe this stuff about jinn possessions and ruqya or zar. Is that like nazar, maybe like the evil eye?
I'm
Um,
not sure.
or other forms of spirit possession remedies. Hopefully, I will be able to put your video on Jinn in there as an example of some social media and popular cultural representations of Jinn. We're very flattered. That would be nice. Um, Actually, I want to take a moment. Do you want to share anything before I share a story?
Oh, no, no, no. Go ahead. Share away.
So one of my first videos on YouTube, and please don't look it up because when I first started making videos, they were not great at all. I was still getting a hang of the timing and the editing and all that kind of
Better
stuff.
than mine, I'm sure.
Debatable, very debatable. Anyway, and one of the first videos that I made and posted on YouTube was about this TikTok live stream that I would come across back when I was on TikTok of a guy, supposed sheikh, whatever you want to call him. Uh, he was in Toronto, and he would do these live streams, doing a ruqya or an exorcism, usually on women, sometimes young women. I don't know if they're 18 or not. He would like cover their face with something, throw water at them, scream, shout, read Quran, all that kind of stuff. And I made a video about how I had someone reach out to the local police and tell them, "Hey, you might want to do something about this. Like this looks almost. We don't know if it's consensual or not because these could be children that their parents brought there. Even then, that would be something to investigate." And immediately, the response from the local police department was, "We can't tell that it's non-consensual, so we can't really investigate. We're not going to touch this." And that a lot of it is probably due to cultural sensitivity and like we don't want to deal with anything
Yeah.
religiously related. But I was so angry that I made the video, nothing came out of it. I don't know if the guy still does that work, but I was upset because I've experienced it in my life and family members who have dealt with this kind of quackery. And here we are supposedly in a enlightened secular country with laws and protection for children and so on, where they won't even lift a finger because it might all be consensual. I don't care if the parents agreed to this. It's something that needs to be investigated. But unfortunately, nothing came of it.
Yeah, that's awful. I think what comes to mind to me is there might be some people that think, oh well, these things are just more prevalent in the Muslim world or whatever. But they do travel, they do extend to Muslim communities wherever you go in the world.
Yeah. Not everybody, but the
Obviously,
problem
yeah,
the problem is that everyone is susceptible to it.
yeah,
Again, when you have one family member who's so sure that your grandmother's, situation is caused by jinn or something, it drags everyone else into it. And to think that they're silly and superstitious for believing in that, but you're not because you believe in the rest of the religion is incoherent. You either need to believe in everything or you don't. And I urge you to just drop it. There's all other ways of explaining the world around us that don't involve superstition and harmful ideas like that. But yeah, that's something that I was really upset about. That even far away from places where Islam rules, it's still a problem, unfortunately. It's not the kind of problem that non-Muslims have to worry about. It's the problem that affects Muslims and ex-Muslims more than anyone else. Here's another comment from Duke the Nuke. It says, Jinn will pee in your mouth if you yawn and didn't cover your gaping mouth.
Yeah, I remember hearing that as a kid. Yeah.
Yep. Raysum, here's an account of a story about a cousin being so-called possessed by a jinn. They would cry and laugh and hiss and flinch and scream no when someone would recite the Quran. They would become violent, which all reassures the Muslims around them that this is real, right? That the ruqya is
Yeah.
doing something. And after the recitation, she had little memory of the event, which could, really be true. The person is not making this up. They go into this episode and then they don't realize what happened. I was terrified of her for a good week after it. It dawned on me not too long after that she was mentally unwell and was having episodes of some sort when she explained she was thinking about her abuser in her childhood. They did tell her it was a jinn possession and she would carry around a mini Quran not much bigger than a postage stamp on a string around her waist to ward it off, which I thought was bid'ah, which means invention, innovation. God didn't say do this.
Yeah.
It just made me incredibly sad for her, and I was too young to adequately express myself or even be heard.
Yeah, it's like using the Quran as like a magical charm. Yeah, I could see why maybe quite a few Muslims would not like that.
Yeah.
That's a sad one. Wow.
Most of these stories, honestly, are sad.
Yeah.
Can you read the super chat, please?
Sure. This is from Wayne. Thank you so much, Wayne. Why is the subject black magic so prominent and frowned upon in Islam? Why is it considered black magic? Like astrology or new age spirituality?
So the question is, why is black magic bad in Islam?
I'm not 100% sure. I think that's what he's getting at.
I think it's the idea of almost doing shirk, committing
Yeah,
shirk, like
yeah. It's of the
idolatry.
devil too. Yeah.
Yeah, like you're asking for help or for influence from other than Allah, and Allah is the only one in the realm of the supernatural who you should be asking for this kind of help. And also because people believe it is real and it is harmful. Like you can ask, and it happens often in these Muslim countries where people would get these, like they call it, I don't want to say the Arabic word because you'd know what country I'm from, but it would be like a spell that they buy from these people to inflict harm upon a neighbor or a cousin or a friend or whatever because of jealousy or some other reason. Or sometimes it's to like ruin their love life. And people believe that this stuff is real. Like sometimes if they find, was it salt sprinkled somewhere or some remnant of something that's part of the ritual outside their doorstep, they know that they've been tagged, for that kind of harm. So part of it is maybe, don't use this dark stuff that will harm other people.
Exactly. And I think an element of it is that if you do it, then you're opening this door that will bring in more darkness and more harm than it's out of your control.
Yeah. There's also,
So
because we don't understand how they work, so you don't know if they
yeah,
will, start to stick to other people that you didn't intend,
exactly. And I think Muslims see a lot of those things that you mentioned, so like astrology, new age spirituality, and by extension, even things like that seem kind of harmless, like Halloween, as connected to that. Like you're letting in these evil forces into your life, into your family's lives.
Yeah. I'll tell you a funny story. I was in a class about religion and spirituality and culture and stuff related to those topics, and there was a person not from a Muslim background at all who was talking about Halloween, and they said that they're scared of how people don't understand what they're opening up as they celebrate Halloween, and I was just thinking, like, so I guess their point was that this is so far removed from the original intent behind the rituals and stuff, and that we might be inviting spirits into our realm or influencing us in any way. And I was thinking, dude, what? Like, you really think that kids doing trick or treat will then invite devilish entities into our lives? Like, I don't know.
This isn't my realm of expertise, but people in the live chat can correct me. But I think the Day of the Dead thing is that's the point when the world, the domain of the dead, is closest to ours, so the dead can pass through and enter our domain. So maybe that's what that person's saying. Oh, it's like just trick or treating, but actually you're letting in maybe horrible people who are dead, who are like maybe malevolent spirits come into our world.
The most harmful thing about Halloween is the commercialization and the capitalistic spin on it.
Or someone in the comments comment on something said candy corns. That's the worst thing about Halloween.
I guess that's people's least favorite candy. Yeah, no, people who give away like full size chocolate bars, like they should go to Jannah. They are really the OGs of Halloween. Um, there's a question. Just Fish is asking, have you read the book Satanic Verses by Salman Rushdie? I started to after he was attacked for it the last time, just because now people are talking about it, and now I wanted to kind of give the finger to the guy who stabbed him by now reading the book that I wasn't planning on reading, but I got bored in the beginning and I didn't continue reading it, to be
You
honest.
gotta persevere. I highly recommend reading it.
Really,
It's somewhere behind me over there, actually, on my bookshelf.
imagine if you did this and it just levitated into your hand. Now that would be something.
Now, yeah, I would convert. I would revert right then and there.
To which supernatural belief system, though?
Oof. Well, I'd have to worship the Satanic Verses at that point, right?
Yeah, Salman Rushdie. While he's still
Yeah.
alive, make a
He
pilgrimage.
survived. It was a miracle.
Yeah, you got to make a pilgrimage to Salman
Yeah.
and go ask for his intercession. Thank you so much for the super chat. Again, Alim, can you read it? It's on my teleprompter, so I can't read it.
Yeah, no worries. So thank you so much, Eames or EEMS. I don't know if you guys know about a concept called Karins. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. My masjid teacher used to tell us they were like our Jinn companions, born when we were born, and were basically the evil versions of us that made us do evil crap. No, I did not know about this. Did you learn about this growing up?
Yes, it is an Islamic concept. I don't remember the specifics of it,
Like
but
an evil Jinn twin. Oh, I'm glad I never learned about that. That would terrify me, because the fear would be that they would replace you and impersonate you and take over your life. That's exactly where I would have gone with it.
isn't that the plot of a lot of like scary movies where
Yeah.
it's and you know what? That is a fear that a lot of people suffering from schizophrenia and other mental illnesses would have, which is the belief that their loved ones have been replaced by either spies or robots or something, and they're not real. So it stems from human illnesses.
Clones.
Yeah, clones. But back then they didn't have a word for that. There wasn't a concept, so it would be whatever your evil shadow realm companion.
Moi Mimi says like the film Us, like the Jordan Peele movie. Yes, exactly like that.
I haven't watched it, but I think that is the one. Yeah, yeah. It's interesting stuff. I guess I want to hear from people in the chat. Do you? And there's no shame in this. Do you still believe in some version of that? And what is that belief? Give us an example of something that, or at least you're struggling to not believe in anymore, maybe, or something that you do strongly believe in. I'd be curious to hear about that.
Yeah, I did do a poll question on my version of the stream. You can vote for that by hopping onto my channel. I just asked, do you believe Jinn are real? 6% say yes, 51% say no, but I used to believe in them, and 43% say no, I never believed in them. So half used to believe. Wow.
Yeah. A Jinn that is your doppelganger, but they have your name in reverse. That's what I know.
Your name in reverse.
Yeah.
Okay.
What would the reverse Aladdin be?
So, yeah. Well, that's what I was going to ask you. Do you think that Jinn is like a Dawa man on Jinn YouTube?
JinnTube, yeah.
JinnTube?
He's very popular on Jinstagram. Why is it a he? It might be a she. You don't know.
Yeah.
And they're called Nidala, because that's the Aladdin.
Nidala.
Nidala.
It works.
It's like works. Nidal, but the female version.
Could
Nidala.
This be an Apostate Aladdin animated video idea for the future?
Maybe. Maybe. Yeah. Do you want to read some more stories from that post?
Yeah, let's do it. I also did want to share the story of Girl Rat, which we talked about briefly. If anyone is like a ex-Muslim over a certain age, you will probably be familiar with Girl Rat. We'll get to that in a little bit. So yeah, I'm ready to read more stories.
Sure. Let me put it back on screen. So I want to sort by popular for a second. Okay. So Jetski says, I'm from Pakistan, and in rural areas, people still believe that mirrors are portals to the demonic world. So they keep them covered with special curtains. It's strange how deeply superstition still influences daily life. As an ex Muslim, I find it fascinating that these things used to seem normal when I was a religious person. Yeah. And there's no shame in realizing that you don't believe in them anymore. But I know how difficult that can be to see other people in your life in the same light once you're past that point. Sarah says, Jinn can assault you if you're not dressed at home. So I felt uncomfortable to undress in the shower, to shower and
Wow.
change. Yeah. As Abdullah says, this is the biggest scar religion left with me. It's horrible. Same thing again about the drain, in hot water down the drain. The Jinn will haunt you. Don't spend a lot of time in the bathroom. Um, there has to be some light in the house. That is the manifestation of this Jinn fear in this person's household. And it hurt my sleep because otherwise Jinn would come out. I can't count how many times I was just relaxing only to randomly feel splashed with holy water. Damn, that is disturbing. Lots of other examples of what
Lots
Jinn
of
will do to
peeing in
you.
your mouth.
Yeah. And assault. Um, I can imagine at least one instance of this back in the day of a man actually committing an assault and then
Mm.
blaming either the Jinn possessing his body or just running away, and then everyone blames it on the Jinn. Like, I can imagine that happens. Um, but I want to see, female Jinn in male dominated fields. Where are the female Jinn assaulting the Dawah men? Like, specifically
Yeah.
the Dawah men. I would love to see that happen, just so then we can have maybe some semblance of proof, right? Because then people will listen. Then there will be something that they will do about these Jinn possessions. Maybe Dawah men should stay at home. Maybe they shouldn't broadcast their voices. But it's obviously just directed at women. Yeah, so you want to talk about the rat girl? Describe what
Girl,
that is.
girl rat or rat girl. Maybe let me share with you my post so you can, so
I
people
don't know
can.
if we want to see that on screen. It would disturb people. Um,
Oh,
you
now
can
you're just gonna intrigue them further. Maybe I can just use my words to describe
yes, please.
rat girl. What do you
Yeah,
prefer, by the way, rat girl or girl rat?
rat girl.
Okay, rat girl. So I think this was. It's hard to peg an exact date. I think I only learned about it after I left Islam. It might have been around the time I left, but there was this story that went viral online. I think mainly on YouTube, and there's a bunch of variations of the story, but like the most common one that I'm aware of is that there was a girl who was not a good Muslim, uh, living with her parents, and her mother turned off the TV because she wanted to read from the Quran in the living room. And the daughter was like, no, I want to watch my favorite show, whatever it happens to be, something sinful from the land of kufr or whatever. And so she turned on the TV back on, and then the mother insisted, no, I am reading the Quran. And the daughter was so upset, she had a tantrum, and she was like, to hell with your Quran. And she grabbed the Quran, and different versions here. She tore it apart, she tossed it to the other end of the room, uh, basically just defiled the Quran, and boom, right then and there, she was turned into like a human sized rat. And so these stories, I'm pretty sure there were video forms of it and also just photos. They usually came with this picture of a naked, I don't know how to describe it besides, imagine a naked rat girl monkey. So all those three things together. So I think that's, so Skeptic Mind says we called it Monkey Girl. Uh, Cat is saying, where's Cat? Let me find that comment. Cat is saying, I can't find the girl rat picture, whatever it is. Please help. I want to see it. I think maybe Aladdin has your best interests in heart and not wanting to show it. So basically, it's a very, if you're a kid and you really believe that this thing is real, it's a very upsetting thing to look at. And yeah, it went viral everywhere. And then years and years later, it turned out that it was just like a sculpture made from some artist in Australia, I think.
And sometimes it'll be like editing way before Photoshop was commonplace, way before the internet was commonplace. And it would just be that one person in the whole family has, access to emails, and they get that chain mail and they
Yeah,
show
yeah.
everybody. Or like, at school.
Oh, when chain mail was a thing, yeah, yeah, it spread like wildfire from things like that. Yeah,
Yeah. And that was before AI, like way before AI, before
yeah,
anyone can get on, a free version of Photoshop and do it themselves even. So it was really easy to trick people on that front, but also on the front that they already believe in these stories or these sorts of stories.
yeah.
Yeah. And I remember a story about how I don't remember if a version of it accompanied, was accompanied with pictures or not, but somebody who was so arrogant and saying, "I don't believe in Allah," and he or she was told like, "No, you're wrong. Allah is real," and then they said, "If Allah is real, turn me into a dog or a cat, in the next whatever time," and then nothing happens, and they say, "See, I told you Allah is not real," and then the next day they find them dead of an injury that only a cat or a dog can die from, with like water in their ear or something like that, and they have like the shape of an animal in their face, and Allah proved that he is real. Yeah. And some of us believe that. Some of us
Yeah,
believe these
yeah,
stories.
yeah. A lot of people in the comments sharing stories about being told that that people are turned to monkeys if they're really bad. Jojo says my dad said monkeys are people who are really bad, and Cat couldn't resist and found a picture of Rat Girl. Well done.
Yeah.
Now you know.
Yeah. And it's the more that you learn about the world, the sillier that these things seem. Like, for example, the population of monkeys in a certain forest or area has nothing to do with how many people have been good or bad that year or the generations before. It has to do with environmental factors, it has to do with their food supply, with their predators, and so on. The more you learn, the sillier these things seem. And you can't even scapegoat humans all the time. You can't say that's because of ignorant Muslims. This stuff goes all the way up to the scripture.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the thing where I think in a way it has like a more powerful force in the universe than like a lot of these kinds of mythological beliefs. Because if you really go down to it, how much harm in the world is belief in Bigfoot really causing? I mean, I'm sure some from the people who are just like ardent Bigfoot followers, believers.
There's a
But
divorced woman out there who's like really sad about how far her husband went into it, and used up all their, home
exactly.
savings chasing.
Yeah, like
Uh,
maybe he sold their home and bought an RV and is just tracking it down across the
I'm
wilderness.
sure these do have an effect on some people
Yeah,
out
yeah,
there, but it's not as as common as scaring women in the U.S. into dressing a certain way because Bigfoot is gonna grape you. Like, that's not what it's
yeah.
used for.
Well, okay. I want you to do some role play with me now, Aladdin. Okay.
Okay,
First of all, I
are you
should ask
Bigfoot
you.
or am I Bigfoot?
Neither of us are Bigfoot for this one,
Okay,
unfortunately. Sorry. Well, first I should ask you: do you believe aliens
no.
are real and like aliens that have come and visited the planet and
I don't have enough
abducted
information
people and
to
stuff?
believe that that is real.
Well, see, this is the thing. Okay, let's say you're a Muslim.
Mhm.
This is where you're role playing. So I'm asking you the same question: do you believe those people who say they've been abducted by aliens? No, right?
Probably not, or that could have been Jinn that they misunderstood as aliens.
Okay, okay, fair enough. But why would you say that? Like, why would you say you don't believe in those things? Like, what's missing?
Muhammad never said it, right? Muhammad never justified the belief in aliens. None of my, or at least most of my community doesn't believe in aliens, but they all believe in Jinn. So that's the difference.
What do you think about how like all these alien abduction stories? There's never really like a video that actually shows the alien. It's always people's stories about blacking out, waking up in a different place, or like hazy memories of being in like a laboratory with the big-eyed creatures surrounding them. Like there's no actual evidence that they can point to.
Well, it wasn't mentioned in the Quran, and Jinn were mentioned in the Quran, so that's your hard evidence. But otherwise, they're similar.
I didn't even bring up the Jinn yet. Why do you keep bringing them up?
Because I know you're trying to trick me. You're gonna say, well, "What about Jinn?"
A true Muslim.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you get where I'm coming from. So you were willing to believe in Jinn, even though all you have are stories in the Quran and things that Muhammad said in hadith and Islamic traditions. Like you don't
Yes.
actually have you ever actually seen a jinn?
Personally, no, but I know people who have.
And that's enough for you.
I mean, are you telling me that my aunt is a liar?
Ooh, see, then you get into the
Yeah.
tricky territory. Yeah.
Well, if I guess we said we were going to ask people, their thoughts if they still believe in jinn. Can
Yeah.
you read this one for me?
Sure, this is from Melon. I don't know. For me, it's like I don't trust Hadith or the Quran, but it's like there might be some things that are unexplainable, or maybe we've been conditioned so hard it becomes real.
What do you think?
Yeah, I mean that's the power of it, and that's why, like, to just bring it back to what we've been talking about, the Jinn. Why are the Jinn always when you're alone, or they're in the dark corner of your bedroom, or in your pipes? Because you can't see in those areas, and when you can't see and you can't understand what's happening, you want to just fill it up with answers to clarify it, even if it's something that scares you. Well, or why did this horrible thing happen to a beloved relative? Well, because they were possessed by a jinn. So there's always going to be things that we can't explain, but we shouldn't rush to an explanation based on things that scare us, based on things that we can't know are real, but because it's more comforting to have an answer, even if it's a terrifying answer.
Yeah. And it's worthwhile to ask yourself questions that might seem silly. Like, for example, why did jinn only attack or influence in the dark, alone, not in huge groups? Say they were to do it in broad daylight, right? In a classroom with 100 people. What's stopping a jinn from doing that? Nothing. Because even if you say, people have power in numbers, what are 100 people going to do against a jinn? None of them,
No,
like, even if they say astaghfirullah or whatever, if that's not going to work on one person, why would 100 people saying it work? It's still, it doesn't make any sense. If jinn wanted to take over the world, they could. Why haven't they? It's questions like these that make you realize it's only a person hyping up their internal fear, or because of their
yeah,
predispositions and their beliefs. It only happens in situations where you can't really prove that it happened and no one else is there to do anything about it. But realistically, jinn have no reason to be afraid of us to that extent when they can hurt us. If they want to hurt us in front of 100 people, they would, but they don't.
I think the thing you can do too is like strip it of its Islamic language and just put it in a different context. Like I was talking about the Icelandic fairies. If I was to tell a Muslim all these stories about Icelandic fairies, I think a lot of them would say, "Oh, well, that's just ridiculous." Or some might say, "Oh, maybe the fairies are actually jinn." There's always that possibility, but you get what I'm saying. I think once you look at it from a different lens, when you look at alien abduction stories or whatever, or Bigfoot, it sounds laughable when the belief system is actually very similar in the sense of lack of evidence.
Yeah. Um, Mr. No Yap says that Aladdin's gonna pull up his jinn from the lamp. I'm telling you, that is a concept again that has predated Islam. The idea of a jinn that you control, or a jinni in a bottle or whatever, like that's kind of where it comes from. So that jinn is supposedly a slave in that bottle, and if you own the bottle, you can command him 3 times. That's the story.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Have you ever had sleep paralysis? A few people have brought it up in the comments.
I have. Yeah,
Yeah,
it can be
same.
very terrifying.
Same. I remember when I first started getting it, I was like around 19. I'd already left Islam at that point, or else I probably would have believed it was jinn or something. It genuinely feels like there's something there in the, like, let's say you're sleeping in your bedroom. I remember feeling there was generally something in the bedroom with me, holding me down, crushing me. And I'd be like terrified of opening my eyes and looking because I didn't want to see whatever this thing was that
Mhm.
felt like a real living force. And when you just have that belief in whatever it is, aliens or jinn, you're gonna believe they're real. I don't blame people.
Yeah. Well, how do you answer this? I don't believe in jinn, but I'm still scared of it. How do I explain this?
It's a good question. I mean, I think some of those things, like, it's even if you left Islam, it's not like a switch where you can just turn it off like that. Like the remnants in like the primal part of your mind are still there. Like, I mean, there's some people who know that, for example, spiders can't harm them, and uh, yet they still have that, like, that moment they see. It's like almost instinct, right? Like, you see a spider's legs, its hairy little limbs, and you just jump and you run. And it's not something you can turn around overnight. The
Yeah.
thing that I would say helps me is, like, it's almost like retraining. Again, I'm not like a expert in like how the mind works or anything, but what helped me in my personal life is you really have to change the neural pathways that you've become used to. So, like, always believing that God is real and that there's demons out there, and you just go back to that over and over again, and trying to shift it to new thoughts to, like, eliminate those older patterns.
Yeah. I was watching once a documentary about ancient Egyptian mythology, and the people who were describing it are Egyptians, like the modern Egyptians, the very Arab
Yeah.
influenced and very Arab, even genetically influenced Egyptians, and I assume they're all Muslim, but there was a hijabi who was like one of those Egyptologists talking about what those people, those ancient Egyptians used to believe, or at least what the rituals indicate that they used to believe about the afterlife and so on. And she was saying it in a straight face. She wasn't like mocking it or anything, but she clearly understand that that's not real. It's just that these people believed it so much that they build monuments to it, or at least it seemed like that was. We don't know if every ancient Egyptian actually believed this stuff, but that was a belief system. That at the very least it was ritualistic that people did these things, and it puzzled me that how do you not see the parallels between people believing so strongly in something, a whole belief system that you can describe and not believe in, and yours, right? Like yours is also a belief system that maybe 1,000 years from now, someone's going to be dissecting the same way you're dissecting this pyramid and all that's in it, and pointing to, well, they believed in this guy called Muhammad and so on. How does this not give you pause? And I think that's one way you can address this fear of a specific, jinn
Yeah.
or belief system. Go learn about what other people believe. And there, unless you're very, very prone to fear, and then you're going to start fearing all their mythology too. But for most people, you learn what the, other cultures and other, the history of these supernatural beliefs in other parts of the world. And instead of focusing on their commonalities and saying, well, this commonality means that jinn are real, just expressed in different flavors, focus on all the things that are different and all the things that don't spook you about them. And maybe it'll help you realize that it's all mythology, that there's no reason to believe yours is any more real than theirs.
Yeah, I think the key thing is, then I think what you would realize is that there's all of these things that people all over the world are afraid of, and that you don't even think about, that don't keep you up at night.
Yeah. And they shouldn't. They shouldn't keep you up at night. Don't adopt new fears, because of this
Yeah.
exploration. Um, yeah, it is a fascinating topic, and I hope that if anyone's listening, you still have any lingering fear of jinn or the supernatural, um, maybe this assurance, like being around others and listening to others who just make light of the idea, could help you realize that it's not real. It's as real as you make it seem, essentially.
Very well said.
Yeah. It also brings into question, like, God, who is omnipresent, right, sits everywhere all the time, and he sees jinn harassing you and possibly assaulting you or your loved ones, and he doesn't do anything till you say the magic words, and maybe then he's going to do something. It
Lurking in your pipes,
Yeah.
peeing in your open mouth as you yawn.
And God only does something when you invoke his name, or when you have a paper, or even like play a radio, right, that is reading Quran. What is it about these sound waves that are generated by a electricity and a speaker that makes Allah get off of his throne and do something? Like, why does that make any sense? Or having the names of Allah plastered on the wall, how is that affecting the devil or the jinn, but Allah's not doing it all the time anyway? It does not make any sense when you really think about it. Especially the electronic stuff, that is extra funny to me. that, maybe if God acts on your effort and your intention, so you saying, subhanallah or astaghfirullah or a'udhu billah, you as a person are making the choice to invoke God's name, so he'll be grateful or he'll show you grace. But if you're just playing an audio file, why should he do something like you're not expending the same amount of effort? Um, so it doesn't make any sense that people think playing Quran in your house is going to keep the jinn out. Why?
No. And you remind me of how I think you told me we did this video once about the Quran in the elevators,
Mm,
just in case,
yeah. Um, but if you think positively, I don't believe in manifestation, but if you reassure yourself and think positively and reaffirm good things, good beliefs about yourself or the world, you're more likely to view the world in that positive sense. So it's almost like good things happen to you more often. It's just that you're noticing them more often, where you're more likely to be receptive to good things when you're in a positive mindset.
Yeah, and if
So
you have a
yeah,
positive attitude and you're talking to other people with a positive mindset, they're more likely to, reflect that back at you. I mean, not guaranteed 100% of the time, but it is more likely. Like what we were talking about earlier, like the positive thought patterns.
yeah. So if you believe in jinn, for example, or some other irrational fear of spirits being in a room or in a house, maybe envision something equally absurd, like you having some kind of superpower. Imagine like a wave in the air. You blow in the air or like push this wall that goes through your house or your room and it clears out all the spirits, right? If even if you don't believe in that stuff, but the fear is still there, maybe tricking your mind into fighting fire with fire in a sense could help. So think of this like protection shield without tying it into any specific belief. See if that helps. Um, there are many approaches to dealing with that fear, and we're not certified, or experts in any way of dealing with this, but just giving some tips. Because I know it seems easy to say just get over it, but
It's
it's
not, no.
it's not that easy.
When you believe it for your entire life, especially in those formative years when you're a kid, that you can't just shake them off just like that. And they can come back to you in moments when you're upset, afraid, isolated, and like those vulnerable moments, because that's what you relied on the most when you were in those moments, your beliefs in Islam.
Yeah. I think I've said all that I've had to say about Jinn. What about you?
I think so as well. I'm glad I resurrected Girl Rat for everyone and traumatized a whole new generation. Maybe there was maybe I can quickly answer the super chat
Hmm.
from Dance Macabre. Secular spirit, are you spiritual? Do you meditate? I have meditated, not in a long time. I think it's useful in terms of just calming yourself down, organizing your thoughts, like processing your emotions. I don't think there's anything about it that's supernatural in terms of I'm connecting to the divine oneness that is Gaia, that is the universe, or anything like that. I think it's just like more of like a thing to just process and not distract yourself and just be still and be one with the moment, which I know sounds again like the new age kind of stuff, but it doesn't necessarily have to be that in terms of believing in any kind of deity. And am I spiritual? No, I am in the sense of where I try to find meaning in life. I just don't do it in a way that involves anything supernatural or any gods or religions.
I completely forgot that we have a video that we could watch together, by the way.
Oh, the Prestige Queens one.
Yeah. I also wanted to highlight there's a guy called Mullah Ali from northern Iraq who is known for doing these rituals on women. He's a scammer. FYI, if you see a guy doing this on the internet, please don't believe it. Don't give them money or anything like that. Um, okay, let me. Unfortunately, we're going to have to play this on TikTok. And I'm sorry in advance.
You're welcome, but that they're on TikTok. Uh, Wondering if anyone in the live chat is aware of the Prestige Queens. Me and Haram Doodles actually did a video talking about one of the things they discussed
Mhm.
relatively recently. Super popular. I think when last I checked, like something around 1 million followers. I might be wrong about that, but very, very popular.
I'm not gonna promote them in any way, but we will play this one video. Okay, let me Let me know if you can hear it. It's on screen. Okay. The caption says Muslim sister gets possessed by jinn in the bathroom, part 3.
Muslim sister gets possessed by a jinn in the bathroom, part 3, and this is the last part, guys. The Raqi came again, even after the rude way the husband treated him last time. This time, the Raqi looked at the state of the wife and looked at the husband with pity. Then the Raqi said, "Didn't I tell you it would get much worse when I told you to finish last time? The jinn will be out of her by now." And the husband told the Raqi that this time he is ready for his wife, ready to have Ruqya read on her, and this time he will be brave. The Raqi started the Ruqya, but this time, despite the husband seeing his wife in that state, he held himself together. He helped the Raqi. The Raqi finally
Wait, so I'm guessing in part 2, the husband was hesitant to do this
Yeah.
bullshit.
Yeah.
And she says that the Raqi is such a gracious guy that despite the husband's, bad attitude, he still went back. So in this fictional story, the Raqi is the hero, right? The gracious
Yeah.
hero.
Yeah, and you have the
And said
nasheed
to
as
the-
background music.
Of course. It's almost like a hypnotic, insert Islamic nasheed here, and then people are suddenly gullible. Like they're much more willing to believe things if there's a nasheed in the background, because it sets the mood for, okay, so this is religiously backed, so let me turn on my religious gullibility, the things that have already been taught to me and I already believe in.
wife, "What is your name?" And the wife laughed again in a scary laugh. And the Raqi said, "Why did you possess her?" And the jinn finally spoke out and he said, "She attracted me with music. And when I saw her..."
Fucking hell, it's
That-
always that.
See, nasheed music, that's okay.
Yeah.
But Katy Perry, no.
And then the sheet has to be a guy. It's a guy going, oh, but it can't be a woman going, oh, because that might cause fitna. The jinn might get turned on by that.
I fell in love with her. She is beautiful and I will never...
Okay, also this concept of like, she's so beautiful, I fell in love with her. It's such, like I see it recurring in Islamic stories as well. It's a very stupid, shallow view of what love is and what relationships should be about. Like Muhammad saw a slave is so pretty, I want her, she's so beautiful. Like that's not a basis for a relationship, right? So to think that it also extends to jinn, I'm not surprised. But this whole idea, she was so pretty, her voice was so beautiful, I just had to have her. That's not how humans should treat each other, or how jinn would operate.
You're
it's so
clearly not a
stupid.
romantic. You don't believe in love at first sight.
That's more like fetishizing and like romanticizing and idealizing a person you don't know because they look attractive. So if this jinn was real, he would get to know her first, and then fall in love with her.
never leave her. The husband was looking at the Raqi with horror.
Wait,
the
wait,
Raqi
wait, wait.
reassured him, and with many hours
I want to hear this part again.
and the jinn finally spoke out and he said, "She attracted me with music, and when I saw..."
She attracted me with music.
Yeah, the siren sounds of song.
Yeah, and the onus is on
Drew him.
her, this
Yeah.
this temptress.
Yes, it's her fault.
She attracted me with music, not I was drawn to her singing voice.
her, I fell in love with her. She is beautiful and I will never leave her.
Have you ever seen a woman so pretty you knew you would never leave her before even having a conversation with her?
Again, it just sounds like something from like fairy tales.
Yeah, it sounds like, idealized, simplified, silly ideas about love and relationships.
Husband was looking at the Raqi with horror. The Raqi reassured him, and with many hours of ruqya and sessions, the jinn finally
Of course, many hours of ruqya and sessions.
Many hours of paid sessions, hourly sessions.
Yeah.
left his wife. She got better within days, alhamdulillah. She replaced music with Quran.
Wait, why alhamdulillah though? Alhamdulillah means like praise to God. So this asshole God sitting on his throne knows this is happening, knows this jinn is possessing a woman who did nothing to that.
Well,
to
it was
ask for
her.
it.
No, she did. She was playing music. She was playing Katy Perry or Taylor Swift's latest album.
Right. Oh well. Well, if she was playing Taylor Swift, then I don't know if I can defend her. No, I'm joking. But yeah, so Allah does nothing up until you get a fancy guy with his fancy words to then get Allah off his ass to do something, and then we thank Allah. Why didn't he do something to begin with till we had to like suffer through it? The
Because
story's
it's a
not real.
test. It's a test.
Yeah. To see how gullible you are and how much you're gonna. And look at this behind her. It's that's a fire alarm, isn't it? Or like a fire handle?
It's
Fire
hard
alarm
to
handle?
tell.
I'd assume that is the case. I don't know. Never mind.
Things got back to normal until one day. It was nighttime,
Oh my god, the story hasn't ended yet.
and the husband woke up just to see his wife giving him a concerning look. She said to him, I woke up and you weren't in bed. What were you doing in the bathroom at 3 a.m.? The husband was so confused, he replied, what are you talking about? I was in bed. The husband looked around and indeed he was on the bathroom floor. His wife smiled and said, you're making fun of me, huh? And the husband heard in his head again that scary voice saying, didn't I tell you we'll never find sleep again? The jinn laughed. Ha 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 ha.
Okay, so
Twist. Oh, it's like a horror movie twist.
is the actual story that like the wife is drugging and gaslighting her husband and sleeping with his brother or something? But so this wife who's mentally distressed, by a jinn, she thought her husband was making light of her condition, and she laughed and she said, haha, classic husband. Like, even in the layers of the story, there's normalization of bullying in a sense. Like, that's not how a woman would react if she was going through that. She wouldn't be like, haha, my husband's so funny, he makes fun of my jinn possession. Like, what? Who's coming up with this bullshit? And the way she's saying everything, it's angering me just listening to it.
The husband did ruqya again and he got better too. And he knew they had to move out from that apartment. The Raqi advised it as well. So they moved out 2 weeks later and they settled in a new apartment.
In this economy, I'm not moving out for anything.
What about the poor people who are going to move in after them, and then the wife will play music, and then the jinn will be like, oh, well, I have no choice but to fall in love again.
Or is the jinn incapable of like latching onto them and going somewhere else? Like, are jinn really incapable of moving as well?
Yeah, is the jinn geocentrically located? Unclear.
They still do ruqya sessions until today with each other. They hope that they never experience such scary thing again. Brother.
So why do you thank Allah for that? Like, if it's such an ordeal that you have to keep begging Allah to get off his ass and do something, why would you give Allah praise for not fixing the problem? Are you telling me that this jinn is more powerful than Allah? Like, is that why he keeps coming back? Again, it's the problem of evil all over again. Is God not able to stop evil, even when his name is invoked?
Who shared the story about himself and his wife said, if I had to give advice to anybody, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made something haram, he done it for a reason.
That's the moral of the story.
Ooh, wow. So anything that you might be tempted to do, don't do it, or you're going to end up possessed by jinn. Your wife's going to be possessed by jinn, and you're going to have to pay for the ruqya sessions for the rest of your life.
You know what this reminds me of? Dwight Schrute in The Office, when he was singing a song that was taught to him as a kid. Was it eat your fruits, something like that? If you don't, you'll be eaten in your sleep. Like, it's a sort of story to scare little children into behaving, but now you've got full-grown adults believing this stuff and women being abused because of it. Moral of the story is, don't sing, or a jinn might sexually assault you and control you and your husband and ruin your life and make you move, which most people can't afford to do these days.
Exactly, yeah. Kat was saying, I swear I've heard a non-Muslim version of the story. There's these kind of cross different cultures, and that's the point that we've been trying to make, me and Aladdin, is if you were to hear the story, like, this could be the story of like The Exorcism Part 4 or The Conjuring or one of those movies. If maybe I'm talking to a Muslim right now, if you were to watch that movie, you'd think, oh, this plot's ridiculous. But if you just look at it in what about it makes it so much more gripping and real when you hear it in a Muslim context? Nothing really, besides just you're used to believing things that Muslims say, things that are in the Quran.
And the nasheed is in the background, and it's
Always
again
helpful.
that peer pressure of like other brothers and sisters believe in this, so they can't all be crazy, right? They can't all be liars. I don't know what to say to that. Most of the people who believe in this are wrong or deluded in some way. Like, it's not good proof that others also believe in this. Otherwise, we should all believe that the rapture happened a couple weeks ago, right? Because people believed in it and nothing happened. Yeah. I don't want to watch more because it's pissing me off.
I think it's over. It's over, thankfully.
Yeah. I'm sure there are other parts and other stories, but like, damn. This is what you like. You have the freedom as a woman, as a Muslim woman, to show your face, which a lot of Muslim women don't have that freedom. You have a voice, you have a platform, and you use it to peddle this nonsense. Like, what a
For
shame.
easy likes.
And
Yeah,
you know, maybe
that's
she
a bad
believes
thing.
in this stuff herself.
Yeah,
Then I feel pity. I feel pity and empathy for her. But you know, what a shame that this is what she's using her privilege as a woman who's capable of speaking to speak about. Yeah, I don't know if I have a positive spin on that. It's just these beliefs are harmful. People don't think of them as just fun things that we're telling stories about. Just hope that you are the change, and next generation there will be fewer people who believe in this stuff. Maybe even in your family, if it's safe to do so. If it comes up, challenge the concept in front of younger people so that they know that at least they can push back on these stories in the future, if it's safe to do so. Um, yeah, be the change you want to see in the world. Any last thoughts?
think for yourself and think critically.
The other way around, but think critically and
Darn,
think for yourself.
so close.
Also, I'm thinking about doing call-in live stream this weekend, possibly Sunday. If you'd be interested in that, maybe even to like argue with people. It's been a while since I've been in an argument, so maybe I'll explicitly do like a debate live stream this Sunday. So stay tuned. Keep an eye on
Sounds
our
good.
channels. Subscribe to Secular Spirit. Link is in the description. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't. And as you said, what was it again? What was that tagline?
Think critically and think for yourself.
And
I get it.
yeah. And thank you for everyone for the support, and consider watching one of these videos next that will be on screen.
Do it.
Take care.
Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. If you don't, I'll send a Jinn to your house.